Welcome to the Business Edge with Technologies Now. Today's guest is Drake Breshears, founder of 1440 Real Estate Media, a fast growing real estate media company elevating how agents, investors, and developers present properties through high quality photography, video, drone work, and digital storytelling. Drake, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, David. Great to get to know you for a few minutes here before we jumped on, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I guess let's step right into it here. What sparked the idea for 1440?
Yeah, so that's the big question. And 1440 was founded from pain. I started my career. I'll just say selling to Walmart. I was in supply chain for major consumer packaged good companies in Bentonville, Arkansas, supporting their Walmart business. That's what I did right out of college. Did that from 2016 into 2020. Around 2018, I got my real estate license and started selling on the side. And then when the pandemic hit, I was actually selling or supplying like Lysol and Mucinex and some other products like that to Walmart. And all of a sudden, all eyes were on us to get the shelf stocked.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't think I was getting paid enough to have that many eyes on me. So left that business, went full time into real estate sales. This was May of 2020. Had some wind at my back with COVID hitting and the interest rates dropping. And then also at that time, I was 26 years old and I was one of the younger brokers in the area or agents. So really, if anybody was looking to buy a home, and they had recently graduated college, I knew them through the grapevine. And so we were able to just take off and run on the brokerage side. Did a lot of sales volume. I mean, there were years we were doing 60 to 80 deals in a year. So I became very familiar with the media side, and I grew increasingly frustrated with the media providers in my market. At this time, Northwest Arkansas was maybe metro number 100 by population, but growing. So there wasn't a really good option in the market. There were some people that did a good job, but they didn't have the infrastructure to support what I wanted to see as an agent, as a top producing agent. And so one day, I had a friend come to me who was a photographer by trade. He was like, "Hey man, we should start a real estate media company." And I kind of liked the idea of it. At this point, I'd been in brokerage for 5 years total, but 3 years full time. And I was already kind of looking for something else in the business that I could latch onto. And so we started 1440. I think due to my experience as a broker, I had intimate knowledge of the pain points that agents face when they're trying to get their media in time for a listing. I understand the pressure from the seller. I understand the price sensitivity, knew exactly what was needed for certain types of listings, what was not for others, and basically like what the minimum requirement on media was to sell a home. So all those things combined, just started at the company. We started with $99 photos and just went from there. So that's kind of my backstory. Yeah, I would say 1440 started from pain, and then it's evolved from there.
No, that's a great description. Obviously, you found a need in the marketplace and you decided to capitalize on it. So, what in your background growing up and these sorts of things led to your path here? I'm really interested in that piece of it as well.
Yeah, so I've always been an entrepreneur. I have the classic, telltale signs of a future entrepreneur. When I was really young, I got into like trading basketball cards and that type of thing. Was big into that. Had the good fortune of like that was LeBron James' rookie year that I really started getting into it, and just a great class. So that was a lot of fun. But then in high school, started a lawn care business with a good friend of mine who we've partnered on multiple businesses since. But we were pushing mowers around our sphere that we could walk before we even had a driver's license or a learner's permit. So when we were 12, 13, 14 years old, we were door knocking, trying to sell our lawn care service for $20, and did that all throughout high school on the side. I had a great experience in college. I went to the University of Arkansas, did the whole thing. Thankfully graduated in 4 years with a finance degree, but it was
Thankfully, 4 years. That's good, right?
thankfully 4 years. But really was there to meet people. And I always joke now, I think in hindsight, a different path I could have taken was just scale that lawn care business right out of high school. But obviously things worked out for a reason. So Yeah, I think when I started working in a corporate role, I knew I was a, square peg in a round hole. However, I also knew that I needed to save some money before I jumped into entrepreneurship. So I kind of used that time frame to really live low and try to have a high enough savings rate, which, was possible in 2016, 2017, to where I could kind of build that cushion to, go out and work for myself. I just always had that itch. So the real estate sales side was a natural transition into it. And I think
Right.
I tell my friends that are kind of trying to understand the moves I'm making or how it's evolved or why I not left completely, but got out of brokerage, um, and went into 1440. I just tell them that I'm thankful I've survived for 5.5 years as an entrepreneur, from age 26 to now 31. Thank God. And I always tell my friends, it's an iteration. You learn something in a few years, you evolve a little bit, you figure out where there's less talent to compete with in the market. You figure out, not all dollars is the same in terms of how it feels to get it. So
Right.
yeah, I think now I'm just at a point where I'm realizing that focusing all my energy on the business is going to take us a really long way. So yeah, kind of a roundabout story there, David. But
No,
yeah,
no, no.
hopefully that adds context.
That's great insight into your psyche and kind of you were destined to be doing this and maybe even something beyond that next. You build this business up, it goes nationwide, you sell for $1 billion and you're pretty happy until you have to do something again, right? Then you're like, I've got $1 billion. I'm going to start something else. Not as leveraged perhaps,
Well,
but
I'll tell you this, I'm doing this surgically. So the market alone in the US is a $3 to $4 billion market from what I've read. The math is pretty simple. It's the number of home sales in a metro, the percentage usage rate for professional media, and then your average order value. So you can look at any metro and back into how much is being spent on real estate media there. There's your outliers. There's your New York, LA markets, where people are shooting movies and selling them for $2,500 to $3,000 for a residential property. The bulk of the U.S. is at $400,000 median home value, bread and butter. And the
right.
question is, how much does an agent need to spend on real estate media for that type of property? Which I'm trying to figure out the answer for. Um, yeah, I just think this business is a culmination of all my experience. I was in supply chain. I was
Right,
forward
right.
dealing with retailer number one, learning everything under the sun, supporting Walmart indirectly, and then got into real estate sales. So I just think those lanes combined, I've got a really dangerous skill set for this industry or this niche of the industry.
So talk about 1440. Talk about your company. What do you guys do? What are you solving for with agents in real estate?
Yeah. So 1440, we provide high quality real estate media for agents that are looking to market and sell properties. Our primary client would be a real estate agent. And obviously, a real estate agent, if you perform well for them, they're going to hire you multiple times within a year.
Right.
So, what the core of our business looks like is we're touchless, on demand, the things you would expect to see in 2025 going into 2026. But essentially, an agent will go onto our platform. They will book a time. We still use the system Calendly, which I
Mhm.
personally really like. I think we might have used that for scheduling here, David. I
Mhm.
think you're a
Right. Yep.
user, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's powerful because it's just a few clicks. So an agent will book a listing shoot. When they book, they'll pick their whether they want 20, 30, or 40 MLS photos. And that's kind of our base. And then in the booking, they can select add ons. So whether that's aerial shots that we outline and pinpoint utilizing the drone and then our back end team, whether that's a listing video that they would like to add on, grass replacement, a 2D floor plan, a virtual twilight added to some of the photos. And there's a few other things. We're getting into like 50 millimeter detailed shots for like magazine style shots.
Oh,
We're
interesting.
looking at videos made from AI utilizing the photos. So there's a lot of layers to a booking, but if a property management company wants half of a duplex shot, they can get that product for $130 for 20 photos. A lot of it depends on who the buyer is, but yeah, and then they select their product from us and all of their add-ons, and then the next day we have a market director go out there and take photos and upload the media. We have a team overseas that edits at night. So while we're sleeping, they're editing. And then our
Right.
clients typically wake up to their media delivered in a custom property website. And it's a flywheel. It's constant. The best thing we can hear is that they sold their home quickly and they got another listing and they're coming back for another
Right.
shoot.
That is the goal for everybody. Yes, you're all aligned there perfectly. So, how important is it to have professional photography for your listing to get it sold?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think when I started in the business, you could probably get away with using the iPhone and taking some photos and listing, especially under a certain price point. I think at this point in 2025, I think it's a must that you at least have professional photography done. Now, whether drone photos are necessary for every listing, whether every listing needs a
Mhm.
video, that's kind of up to the agent and their marketing strategy. Some agents understand as long as we get good photos out there, we'll be fine. And that's all we need to show off the property. Whereas other agents have a marketing strategy with their clients, the homeowners of, we're going to push video, we're going to push social impressions, we're going to try to get as many eyes on this listing as possible. So I would say at a bare minimum, the professional photography in 2025 it's a must, table stakes, if you will. But then from there, these add-ons
Mhm.
are becoming increasingly important.
No, it seems like that makes sense to me. I mean, if you looked at a list, two listings side by side, similar properties, you're naturally going to be more attracted and more interested in the property that is showing well, as opposed to the one that's randomly put together. Nobody needs random in their life. They want things
Right.
that are nice and neat. This is a very important purchase. As they always say, the largest purchase, people generally make in their lifetime. At any point in time, they're moving up, they're moving down. These are large purchases, so it makes
Right.
perfect sense. You should have it show right. And obviously, it you're going to have more interest. You're going to get a better offer, and you're going to sell it faster. All things being equal, no question about that. I
Absolutely.
mean, you could anyway. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. What sort of? I mean, we're a technologies company, so we want to talk tech a little bit. So, what
Yeah.
sort of technology do you use to make the magic happen, Drake?
Yeah, great question. It's so interesting, David, and it's hard on a podcast setting knowing that I'm going to be speaking to not necessarily real estate media business owners here to kind of translate all my knowledge.
Right? Yes.
But to answer your question on the tech, what's interesting about this is it's equal parts a service business and a product business. So it's really two separate things. And I think that's what makes it a bit more operationally complex. And you have to have, knowledge of the real estate industry, I think, to succeed in it to a degree. As far as tech on the what I would call the field side or, the market director side, I mean, we utilize the best cameras. We just bought a Sony A7 IV, which is one of
Sounds
the
fancy.
yeah, it's a great camera, good camera body, pretty penny for sure. But then we also use a 14 millimeter lens, which is a very wide lens, and we have a style that when you see our photos, it's what we call the 1440 standard. We use a DJI drone.
Yeah,
I
there it
think it's a
comes. Yes.
Mini
The
3.
1440 just came through in what the, name of the company is.
Oh, the minutes in a day?
What was that? Oh, wait, well, hold on a second. You said the 1440 standard is what I thought I heard, but was that not it?
No, 1440 is the number of minutes in a day, and it's also a aspect ratio. You'll see like 1440 HD, so it
Okay.
kind of ties in there. But no, the 1440 standard is the system we're developing um, in terms of how we train our capturers, the people taking the photos. I don't want to call them photographers because they do a lot of other things too, but the guys and girls that are actually going to be out there at the house capturing, we have a standard. So the 14 millimeter lens is a very wide lens. It really shows off the real estate. So it's what you would expect to see when you open up Zillow or Realtor and you're looking at a house. You can see the whole
Mhm.
room. So that's kind of on the front end. Of course, we use like a 360 camera, Ryko 360 for like the Matterport style walkthroughs. But then on the back end, we really need to dial in our tech suite. What's interesting about this industry is there are some niche companies that are starting to really gain market share in like different aspects of the final deliverable. Like we use a company called Show and Tour for our custom property websites. We use a platform called PhotoUp. They house all of our editing. So there's a few different things like that. I think, just like most companies out there right now, I mean, we're utilizing Chat GPT for all it's worth, whether that's role design, offer letters, forecasting, kind of gut checks on our pricing, analyzing pricing matrices, in our market of how much people are paying per photo and what the competitors are charging per photo. There's a bunch of different things. I would say, we're pretty deep on the tech side for sure.
And so along those lines, what's new or what do you see coming up in 5, maybe 10 years on this, what you're doing, or maybe the industry overall changing?
Great question. Number one, I mean, the reason that I left brokerage for the time being to scale this company is I think the market itself will likely double over the next 10 years because I think we're just beginning to scratch the surface of how important the digital marketing side of selling a home really is. I think over the next 5 to 10 years, the industry will likely roll up quite a bit with
Mhm.
some major players emerging. It's extremely fragmented right now because it's operationally complex and it's not quite as big a piece of the pie as maybe institutional is interested in on like the whole real estate stack. But yeah, I mean, my big bet is I think agents will continue to spend more on media. I think it'll become more of their strategy. As far as the industry itself goes, I think there's going to be more done with the photos, meaning you can do a lot of things once you have the final photos back. So AI reels are becoming really popular where you upload your 10 best photos from a listing and it actually looks like a walkthrough video using AI technology and no one can differentiate. I think virtual tours from the photos will continue to evolve, but there's always going to need to be someone that goes out there and captures the media or the base of the media that kind of creates other media from it for the sales process. So I always tell people, in my opinion, every time a home changes hands, new media is needed. Someone could have painted a wall. They
Mhm.
might want to show off some furniture. They might want to highlight the fact that it's the fall and the trees are changing. It might be spring and they want to highlight that. So there's always a reason to refresh. Kind of bouncing back to my previous point, like virtual staging of a home is a great example of the photos are the base, but then there's a lot of tech companies evolving off the back of that being the base. So, there's virtual staging outfits through AI that can provide Scandinavian furniture, farmhouse furniture, modern and
What kind of
classic.
whatever you want, you can just drop in there. Yes.
Yeah. And, our clients can take our photos and go do their own thing and upload those and mess with the sliders or whatever. But these companies are smart. They're charging minimums per month to get an account and utilize it. And so I think, agents just don't want to deal with 10 more logins to make sure their media is crafted perfectly. They'd rather go with a company, pay a little bit of a premium, but then we just handle the whole back end and deliver.
So it's more turnkey for them and they can work
Yeah.
on their relationships and everything that they're really good at. Is
Yeah,
that a good way to
absolutely.
state it? Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I'm a numbers guy if you can't tell. I mean,
You have a
slice it
finance
and dice.
degree, you'll start there, right? And if you have
Yeah,
to be a numbers guy to start a business, that's gonna be that is successful. No question
for
about it.
sure. But I just look at the median home being 400,000, call it nationally. A real estate agent's commission is going to be 8 to 10,000 probably with kind of how things have shaken out on the 2 to 2.5%. I think that math's right.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, it's nothing for an agent to unlock that commission check and successfully sell the home. It's nothing to spend. I mean, even 10% of the commission would be an $800 job to $1,000 job for us. So 5%, it's nothing. It's probably the best spend you can make in the sales process, in my opinion. So yeah, I just see that growing over time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And that's a great way to put it. Unlock that commission check by doing all the right things to take care of your customer, your client, to sell the home, right? For the best price
Absolutely.
at as quickly as possible. So it's just part of the team or part of the process that you'd have to be
Exactly.
successful in that space. And you understand it from the other side. So I mean, that is a great background to have in coming into this. So let's shift gears just a little bit. Tell us something about you. Some things you like to do. What are your interests? You like to travel, or you just like to live in New York and then live in Tulsa? We talked about this earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, so last day in New York here, so I'll claim New York for one more day. I guess maybe most interesting thing about me, I actually ran the Boston Marathon earlier this year,
Oh, awesome,
uh,
nice.
and I was able to qualify to get in, which was a long, arduous journey um, with a goalposts that kept moving of what time I needed to run to get in the
Oh, wow.
in
Yeah.
under 35 male category.
It has to be very competitive.
But yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's something I really enjoy. I think it's given me a good rhythm to life, and I think inadvertently kind of rewired my brain to think long term and think about the daily bricks you stack to meet the goal. So yeah, that's something that I'm passionate about. Fitness is definitely a pillar of my life, and then also on the other side, I mean, I'm still actively investing in real estate. I'm actually working as a principal on a commercial deal right now. So
Nice. Yes.
I'm all in on it. And I think, just to be so passionate about the industry is definitely going to come through as we interact with more agents and continue to grow this thing. But yeah, someone asked me the other day what I like to do for fun. And I said work. So I probably need to change that answer. Also like to golf. I'm a bad golfer, but I would say that's another great day for me is any day that I can get on the golf course.
And I don't disagree with your statement about, what do you do for fun work? Because if you love what you do, you don't really work a day in your life, right? Isn't that what they say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I'm so fortunate to be this passionate. I haven't dreaded a Monday since I left my job in 2020. By Sunday, I'm ready for the weekend to end so we can get back after it. So I'm just all about it. Now we have a team as well in the business. It's fun. Just trying to create opportunities for people internally, trying to keep growing, trying to support everybody the best we can and take care of the agents too. It's a fun time for sure.
No, that's awesome. And actually, that leads me to ask the question.
Mhm.
You love what you do. What advice would you give an entrepreneur who's looking to start their own business? What would you tell them, regardless of the business, perhaps?
My number one piece of advice is know the size of the market that you're entering. I think if you can't answer that question with some certainty, you're going to have a really hard time. And I see that mistake a lot that people make because I just view it as if you know the size of the market that you're entering, you know kind of what the landscape looks like, you know what X percentage market share would look like for your business, you can reverse engineer the business.
Hmm.
That's the objective. If someone asked me over coffee, like, what do I need to do before I do this? That's what I would say first. And then I think the other thing I would give advice on is it's not for everybody. And I don't say that as somebody that's like, the holier than thou version of an entrepreneur, but and a lot of times it makes sense to stay in your role if you're making good money and you like what you're doing and there's a career progression because when you come over to this side, the career progression is you climbing up rungs on this ladder. You have to create your own progression. It's not set out before you. So you really have to be self-motivated. You have to be obsessed with every part of the wheel. I mean, you got to be obsessed with sales, obsessed with marketing, obsessed with operations. You have to be extremely empathetic towards the people that are working with you for and if you have a major blind spot you need to make sure that you surround yourself with somebody that's better at that blind spot than you are to where you really don't fall down. So yeah, that would be my short advice on it.
That is excellent, excellent advice. So, Steve, thank you. This has been a fantastic conversation. If people want to find out more about 1440, where should they go?
Yeah, so our website is 1440realestatemedia.com. Great website to kind of learn more about our business. We are currently serving the Northwest Arkansas market, but we are about to expand to Tulsa, Oklahoma. So excited for market number two. I'm going to be heading down there to Oklahoma and heading up the market. So I would love for you guys to follow along on our journey. We're also on Instagram, 1440 Real Estate Media. So we would appreciate a follow on Instagram as well.
Awesome. All right, everyone, thanks again for joining us on Technologies Now, the Business Edge. And for everyone watching this episode, be sure to follow Tech Now at Technologies Now AI on YouTube for full episodes and highlight clips. And you can also connect with us on LinkedIn for more conversations. We're happy to talk with everybody and provide some insight and education. Thank you very much.